My name is Kendra Walsh. 3 years after I stood beside my mother and watched a funeral director close my younger sister's casket, Audrey mailed me a wedding invitation. Her name was printed beneath a spray of pale green leaves. Audrey Walsh and Grant Holloway request your presence. The wedding was 8 days away. I read it standing at my kitchen counter with my work badge still clipped to my sweater and a carton of eggs sweating beside the sink. I am an insurance claims auditor. Most days, people pay me to notice dates that do not match, signatures that lean the wrong way, numbers copied from one form to another. So I noticed the ampersand first. Audrey used to draw hers like an 8, with the top cut open. Then I noticed the lower right corner of the RSVP card was missing. When we were teenagers, we tore that corner from notes when we could not speak safely in front of our parents. It meant, "Do not answer. Come find me." I sat down without taking off my coat. Audrey disappeared 4 years earlier. A year after that, her remains were found in a burned maintenance building on property connected to Grant's restoration company. The identification was made through dental records. We buried her. Grant had been her fiancé. I still had his hand on my shoulder and photographs from the funeral. I searched the venue printed on the card. Merrow House was a restored estate in the Laurel Highlands, about 90 miles from Pittsburgh. The website loaded slowly, showing stone walls, chandeliers, bridal suites, and couples laughing under strings of lights. There was a wedding scheduled for Saturday. The groom was Grant Holloway. The bride was Vanessa Pike. I called my mother. She was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. "Kendra," she finally said, "throw it away." "Mom." "Throw it away. Someone knew about the corner. You told people things when Audrey disappeared. You posted things online." "I never posted that." She sighed. "Please do not do this again." That sentence stayed with me. Again. As if grief were a bad habit I had failed to quit. The next evening I brought the invitation to her house. Diane Walsh still lived in the split level where Audrey and I grew up. She had replaced the living room carpet after Audrey died, but the dent from the old piano was still visible near the wall. Grant was there. He stood in the kitchen holding a coffee mug that said, "World's okayest Dad," something my mother had bought as a joke years ago despite Grant not having children. I stopped in the doorway. He looked older, gray at his temples, better dressed. "Kendra, what are you doing here?" "Your mom called me." My mother would not look at me. I put the invitation on the table. Grant picked it up with 2 fingers and studied it. "Vanessa has been getting things," he said. "Anonymous emails, fake social accounts. Someone sent flowers to her office with Audrey's name. You did not mention that before. You did not ask." His voice had always been like that, calm enough to make your own volume seem unreasonable. He turned the RSVP card over. "Probably got damaged in the mail." I stared at him. "What?" "The corner." He looked at the card again. I had not mentioned the corner. Neither had my mother. Grant set it down. "I can see it is torn, Kendra." "Can you?" My mother whispered my name. Grant rubbed his thumb against the side of the mug. "I know what this looks like to you," he said. "I also remember what those 2 years were like." 4. What? She was missing for a year before they found her. Then 3 years dead. 4 years. His face changed for less than a second. Not guilt. Annoyance. I knew that look from hundreds of interviews with claimants who had realized I was keeping better track of their story than they were. I told him I was done with it. Then I went home and spent the night searching county records. Grant had received Audrey's life insurance proceeds as named beneficiary. Some of the money had gone into Merrow House. That was not illegal. What bothered me was an old business filing. Before Audrey disappeared, she handled event accounting for Grant's company. She had built a peculiar invoice system using category codes based on month, vendor type, and property. I recognized it because she once complained about it over Thanksgiving dinner for 40 straight minutes. The system was still being used. One approving employee appeared over and over, Mara Ellison. I found payroll filings showing Mara had begun working for Merrill House 7 weeks after Audrey's funeral. No social media, no professional history, no photographs. The next afternoon, I drove to Merrill House. The building sat beyond a stone gate at the end of a road lined with maples. Delivery vans crowded the rear drive. A woman in a camel-colored coat came down the front steps carrying a binder. I recognized Vanessa Pike from the wedding website. I introduced myself. Her expression tightened before I finished my last name. I know who you are. That told me Grant had already prepared her. I am not here to ruin your wedding. She gave a tired laugh, reassuring. Do you know someone named Mara Ellison? A pause. Bookkeeping, I think. Have you met her? No. Does that not seem strange? Not especially. She shifted her binder under one arm. Grant told me you had a difficult time after Audrey died. There are polite ways to call a woman unstable. Vanessa had been given one. I looked past her toward workers unloading boxes. Cream envelopes. Same paper. Same pale green leaves. My invitation had not been copied by some stranger. It had come from the wedding stationery Grant and Vanessa ordered. I returned 2 days later during vendor setup. I did not have much of a plan. That embarrassed me because plans were supposed to be my thing. I walked through the front entrance carrying the invitation and said I had something for Grant. A coordinator asked me to wait near the ballroom. The room was enormous, with high windows and a mirrored wall running along one side. I saw her in the mirror. A woman pushed a cart loaded with folded linens through the service corridor behind me. Dark hair. Too thin. Black kitchen clothes. Then her hand came up. Her thumb rubbed against the side of her index finger. Audrey had done that since she was 10. I followed her through the service door. Audrey. The cart stopped. She turned. For 3 years I had imagined seeing her again. Sometimes I dreamed she was standing in a grocery store aisle, irritated because I had taken so long to find her. Sometimes she hugged me. Once, she asked why we buried somebody else. Nothing I imagined prepared me for how ordinary she looked. Her hair was badly dyed. She wore cheap, non-slip shoes. There was a small burn scar near her jaw. I did not remember. Audrey? She looked directly at me. You have the wrong person. Her voice was lower, but it was hers. My name is Mara. I took 1 step closer. She moved back. Then Grant appeared behind her. He did not raise his voice. Kendra. Audrey's eyes dropped immediately. Grant gestured toward her. This is Mara Ellison. She does some bookkeeping for us. I looked at my sister. Tell me to leave? She said nothing. Grant called security. As Audrey brushed past me with the linen cart, her shoulder struck my coat. Outside, I found a folded catering receipt in my pocket. 3 invoice numbers were written on the back. I spent that night in a roadside motel with a broken ice machine humming outside my room. The invoice numbers led to a vacant cottage Grant's company had renovated 4 years earlier, a temporary heating contractor, and a payment made 9 days before Audrey supposedly died. Then I found Mara Ellison, the real one, 29 years old, temporary work, no close family nearby, reported missing 3 days before the fire. Nat supposedly killed Audrey. I stared at her missing person photograph until her face blurred. She was close to Audrey's height, close enough in build. The next morning I called Vanessa. She agreed to meet me at a diner only after I said I had financial records. She listened while I showed her the invoices. Grant had been pushing her to invest heavily in Merrill House after the wedding. She admitted she had noticed irregularities. He said Audrey handled the books badly before she died. Convenient. Vanessa flinched. I softened my voice. Did he tell you he is selling the remote properties? Her eyes lifted. How do you know that? So that part was true too. Audrey was not staying at Merrill House much longer. That night, I went back. The catering receipt had a staff access code written beneath the invoice numbers. I entered through the loading area and found the service stairs. Audrey opened the caretaker apartment door before I knocked twice. The apartment was clean. That bothered me more than locks would have been. There were books on a shelf, yogurt in the refrigerator. Calendars going back 3 years. No chains. No barred windows. You can leave, I said. Audrey laughed once. It sounded exhausted. Can I? She told me Grant's business had already been collapsing before she disappeared. She found fake subcontractor bills, inflated repair claims. Money moved through accounts carrying her approvals. When she confronted him, Grant told her investigators would see her as part of it. Then Mara Ellison died. She had been sheltering without permission in an unfinished cottage. A temporary heater had been vented improperly. Carbon monoxide killed her. Grant found the body. He told me we had 48 hours, Audrey said. He said if I disappeared, he could separate my name from the accounts. You believed him? I wanted to. That answer hurt because I understood it. Grant moved Mara's body. Audrey helped plant some of her own belongings. She believed Grant was creating confusion, buying time. His sister Celia, a dentist who had treated Audrey, altered the comparison material used when the burned remains were examined. By the time Audrey understood what they had actually done, Audrey Walsh was legally dead. Grant gave her Mara Ellison's identity. Then he explained what would happen if she spoke. Fraud, evidence tampering, concealing a body, insurance money. Her mother learning she had attended a funeral for a daughter who had been alive. I thought I could fix it before I came home, Audrey said. 3 years? Her mouth tightened. I signed things. What things? Accounts, transfers. After you were dead? She nodded. Some because he threatened me. Some because she stared at the floor, because Marrow House was failing, and I thought if I kept it alive long enough, I could get enough money together. I stood. I needed distance from her. All those years I had imagined Audrey trapped somewhere, waiting for us. She had been trapped, but the truth was uglier than that. Were there chances to call me? Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. Yes. That was the worst thing she said all night. Grant had controlled her. Grant had lied to her. Grant had built the cage. But sometimes the door had been open, and shame had done the rest. I walked to the door. Audrey said, I sent the invitation because he is moving me after the wedding. Then come with me now. I cannot. You can walk downstairs. And tell the police what? That I helped switch a dead woman's identity with mine? Yes. She stared at me. I said, I am not asking you to be innocent. I am asking you to be alive. She still would not come. I left furious. The wedding was 2 days later. Grant had my name at the front gate. I expected that. What he did not know was that I had spent 12 years reading property reports, fire loss diagrams, building plans, and renovation permits. Marrow House had a freight elevator behind the ballroom partitions. I came in through the loading courtyard wearing black pants and carrying a catering tote. One. Bought at a restaurant supply store. Audrey was waiting near the elevator. I cannot do this, she said. You already did. I sent a card. You sent me to a wedding. From the ballroom came music and the soft scrape of chairs. Vanessa was already at the front. Grant was waiting for her. Audrey looked down at her catering shoes. If I walk in there, everybody knows. Yes, they will know what I did. Yes. She looked at me then. I did not tell her it would be okay. That would have been another lie. I said, he can survive anything that stays private. The ceremony began. The partition opened. Audrey stepped through. At first, nobody understood. Grant did. His entire body changed before his face did. Mara. He said it loudly, like a command. Audrey kept walking. Vanessa turned. I watched recognition move across her face because Grant had kept photographs of Audrey. Everywhere. He liked being the grieving fiancé. It made him trustworthy. Grant came toward us. Kendra, stop this. Audrey reached the aisle. My name is Audrey Walsh. Several people laughed nervously. Grant grabbed her arm. She pulled free. The woman you buried was Mara Ellison. Celia Holloway stood from the second row. Audrey, do not. That was enough. Vanessa looked at Celia, then Grant, then Audrey. Celia said, quieter. You are going to destroy all of us. Audrey's mouth trembled. I know. Phones were already coming out. Grant kept trying to speak over her, calling her Mara, calling me sick, calling the whole thing harassment. Audrey admitted she had helped him. She admitted signing later documents. She admitted she had stayed silent. That was what broke him. He had spent 3 years holding her guilt over her head, and she put it in the room before he could use it. Vanessa took off her ring. The ceremony never finished. Neither did the story. Investigators eventually confirmed Mara Ellison had died accidentally in that cottage. Grant had turned her death into an opportunity and then built 3 years of crimes around the past day, keeping Audrey erased. Celia's dental records became evidence. Grant's business records led investigators to other fraud victims. Audrey cooperated. Cooperation did not make her innocent. She faced charges too. For months she lived under court restrictions while lawyers argued over coercion, fraud, obstruction, and everything she had signed while legally dead. My mother's reunion with her was awful. There was crying, then anger, then weeks when neither of them called the other. You do not get someone back from the dead. You meet who they became while you were mourning them. 14 months later, Audrey lived 20 minutes from me. We had coffee most Thursdays. My mother cooked Sunday dinner again. Audrey found bookkeeping work with a small company whose owner knew enough about her history not to ask why her sum had a 3-year hole in it. For my birthday, she mailed me a card. That irritated me. She could have driven it over. I stood at my kitchen counter and turned the envelope in my hands. Cheap white paper. My address written slightly uphill. Nothing. Usual. All 4 corners were intact. I checked anyway. Then I checked again before I opened it.